I know you all know her, but, and you've seen her playing the piano lately. And she has accepted the position on a permanent job to be our accompanist now. So congratulations, Lorianne Schmidt. She luckily has also is willing to continue to be our tech consultant, especially with video engineering, and so that's what she was doing right now, because we have a new volunteer doing that. And so, without further ado, here is our first hymn. The second person I would like you to be aware of, someone also you've been aware of lately, is we have a new celebrant. I'd like you to meet Bob Muir. He's here today. Yay! You've already seen him at the Christmas Eve service, and of course, last week he spoke right here from the pulpit, which was lovely. When we focus on our gratitude, the tide of disappointment goes out and the tide of love rushes in. Christian Armstrong. May you find this true to be yourself, for yourself. Please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship. Nurture the hope and serve the needs of our world.
One of my heroes is Albert Schweitzer, who wrote these words. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. As we gather together this morning, let us not forget that as our own life has been rekindled by the presence of others, so we too may rekindle the flame of life in others. Our very presence together testifies to this hope, to this possibility. Every Sunday, we light 3 candles as a reminder of our connections to others. The first is for friends and members of this Unitarian congregation of Salem. We light our second chalice for our partner church and friends in Siemenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And our third chalice is for our children and youth in religious education and around our world. Our cantor, Tom Ellis, will now sing the flame into life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
If you wanted to light candles, you can. If not, you don't have to.
I don't know about that. Okay. Reverend Rick and his family.
Each week, we make a point of practicing cultivating our sense of compassion. So I invite you now to bring into your mind someone that you know who is suffering in some way. Someone who is suffering. And consider for a moment the particular qualities of their suffering. What is the specific nature of their pain, of their distress? You may not know for sure, but what do you think? And regard this person in their particular distress with mercy. Feel solidarity and goodwill toward them. Wish them relief from their distress. And picture them experiencing relief. We also practice awakening gratitude in our hearts. Let some things that merit gratitude come into your mind. Savor these things for a moment with genuine appreciation and feel it lift your heart.
Good morning. I'm Lorna Youngs with Lifelines Lay Ministry. And as you can see from the slide, we're here to provide additional assistance. If you need to contact us, please email us at lifelineslayministry.com. Lifelines Lay Ministry, UUCS.org. I was giving my address. There are no sorrows written in the book or online, except, of course, the great sorrow of the loss of Slavka this past week. There is a note from Alan Holland, who you saw out in the foyer. A broken leg is a minor setback that heals quickly with the kind support from so many. I'm very grateful. Sincere thanks to all. And I wanted to remind you that next week is our Compassionate Connection, and that means that those of you who want a little additional hands-on attention and compassion from the Lifelines Lay Ministry, gather with front of the sanctuary, and we'll provide our Compassionate Connection ritual. Thank you.
Please continue to share your joys and concerns with us so that we may stay connected as a community. You may do so by going on the website and following the directions there, or write in the book as Alan Holland did this morning. Thank you.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
She may die before morning. I have been with her for 4 years. 4 years. There's no way I could feel cheated if I didn't have her for another day. I didn't deserve her for another minute. And I may die before morning. What I must do now is die now. I must accept the justice of death and the injustice of life. I have lived a good life, longer than many, better than most. What did I do to deserve birth? It was a gift. And yet, I have had 32 years. I choose to accept death now. As of this moment, I give up my right to live. And I give up my right to her life. But now, it is morning. I have been given another day to hear and read and smell and walk and love and glory. I am alive another day.
Here's the problem. We have this confounded tendency, habit even, of looking at our situation, at small things like the way our current projects are going, the aches and pains of the day, and the way people around us are behaving, as well as look at the larger scale things like the overall state of our health, our financial condition, the enduring themes of our relationships. We look at all this, and there's a tendency for our attention to be drawn to the problems, the frustrations, the disappointments, the worries and outrages. We say, if only this and that. And when we say, if only this and that, I observe most of the time we don't finish the sentence. If only I got my way on this thing, then what? The sly implication is that if only this, then all would be well. But if we got our way on this one thing, would we then dwell in satisfaction, relishing the splendidness of our new reality? Not that likely. The thing that has become no longer a problem would pretty quickly lose our interest, and our attention would soon shift to something else that chafes. Now, I'm not saying we do this all the time, but tell me if it isn't a tendency. This business of only briefly appreciating good fortune and then having our attention drift over to something that's a bother or a worry, something that needs to be managed or fixed. This habit of focusing on how things are not the way they ought to be amplifies our misery, dampens the joy of living, and over time, if allowed to go on unfettered, turns us into complaining ingrates. It has less to do with our circumstances, though, than we'd like to think. Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, said, "A thankful person is thankful under all circumstances. A complaining soul complains even if they live in paradise. And I think he's really onto something there. The attitude of taking for granted is a bottomless pit into which any number of blessings may be thoughtfully dumped and forgotten. There is no blessing so great that it cannot be disappeared into the limitless maw of taking for granted. However many wondrous and unearned boons may come to us, if we receive them as merely our due, if we look past them with unseeing eyes and a bored shrug, our days will be suffused with deprivation. We will never be nourished by blessings and good fortune until we notice and appreciate the blessings and good fortune that we actually have. How much better it would be for us to turn it around and notice with energetic astonishment that in our lives, one blessing is already piled on top of another. And each one is beyond any entitlement we might claim. The Jewish Passover tradition has furnished a wonderful ritual for just that. During the Passover ritual, a long string of blessings that God bestowed upon the ancient Hebrews is mentioned. And after each one, the people say, Dayenu, which means it would have been sufficient, or it would have been enough. Now, I'm sad to say that several of the specific historical events celebrated in the Passover ritual involve a lot of smiting and slaying, which God supposedly did on behalf of the Hebrews. But putting that aside, the form of the ritual, the idea of making a big point of recounting blessings in such a way so as to inoculate ourselves against taking for granted. This strikes me as one of the great strokes of genius in all of religion. It seems spiritually important to have a word like Dayenu, conveying that alone would have been a great blessing, but there was more. And this additional thing alone would have been a great blessing, but there was more again. I need something like that. It's embarrassing to admit how many of the moments of my days I squander on worry and fault-finding and wishing and lamenting, always implying that my life and this world are not up to snuff, not to my satisfaction. It's a good thing to be engaged with life, striving to make the best of it and to mitigate the suffering of ourselves and others. But there is a common neurotic tragedy. Riding in a boat laden with boons and blessings, which are taken for granted, and allowing the imagination to be dominated by problems and worries. When I'm ready to truly be a contented soul, I believe I will walk around all day murmuring figuratively, Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. Here's an account from a source unknown to me of someone who seems to have a firm grasp on the concept we're reflecting upon. There is an old woman in our town who has lived a very difficult life, full of suffering. 2 of her children died, one of a terrible lingering disease, and the other in an automobile accident. Her husband had a very bad stroke many years ago and then lingered on for 20 years before dying. Yet she is the most generous and compassionate person I have ever met. One day I asked how she could still wake up every day with a smile and a kind word for everyone around her. She looked at me with this really surprised expression on her face and said, "Oh, but my life has been full of so many wonderful people. Each of the terrible things that happened to me also brought some unexpected surprises, moments of connection with others, opportunities to become a better person. I guess I do wish it could have been easier, but really, I feel that my life has been blessed nonetheless." So this woman has had severe heartbreaks. But she's not focused on them to the point of overlooking the blessings and opportunities which have also colored her life. So I invite you now to take a moment to reflect upon your life. And I ask, search in the corners of your mind, are there blessings that you have a marked tendency to take for granted? Good fortune in your life, blessings, which you don't give much attention to. You kind of take them for granted. Things that you know you have no ultimate claim upon and which could be gone at any time. People in your life who might not be. Experiences you have had which you might not have had. Abilities which you have, which you might not have. Good situations and opportunities that were not guaranteed to you. Can you recall situations in your life that you would have given anything to get out of and now are out of? Can you think of anything that you would have once considered an extravagant improbability, which has actually come to pass? You see, Dayenu is not just a concept that we should understand. It is a feeling and a sensibility that we would profit from bringing more fully into our hearts. So I ask you to join me now in a Dayenu litany. I'm going to mention some blessings that often are taken for granted. And after each one that I mention, I invite you to say Dayenu. Now, of course, you may just think it quietly in your mind. But you may find that it moves your heart more, and you get more out of it, if you speak it with your voice, whether you be here in the sanctuary or alone at home. And of course, you may keep your own counsel and just bear witness to others doing it. So we begin. Fresh, clean water at the tap. Hot, clean water at the tap. the solace of a comfortable bed, a store of food to nourish and delight, schooling and access to a vast world of knowledge, music, live and recorded, to stir and soothe the heart, skillful and dedicated healers in our time of injury and illness, and perhaps some others come into your mind. There's so much. This business of experiencing lack or abundance, it's not just about how we relate to our outward circumstances, good fortune in the world. It's also about how we regard ourselves. We look at the conglomeration of qualities that we think of as our self. Myself, yourself. And we look at our overall track record, how we have lived, what we have done, and what we have neglected. We look at all this and form some kind of general impression of ourselves. Are we appreciative of our qualities which serve well, which are honorable, even when they're held up to the light of our stupidity, our unkindness, and our neglect? Right? So even when we are aware of our flaws and the things that we feel sheepish about or even ashamed, even when we're aware of those things, can we still be appreciative of those parts that serve well and are honorable? Or do we kind of negate those? Can we say of ourselves, Dayenu, it's good enough? And if we have difficulty feeling that we are good enough, we need to ask ourselves, when were we ever promised that we would meet and exceed industry standards? No such promise was ever made. The person we have been given to be. Right? This is a subtle thing. The person that we have been given to be is, in a deep down, ultimate sense, good enough. It may not be all that we might imagine or all that we might aspire to, but it is more and better than we have any right to. Take in now this insightful reflection by Pat Toohey. She says, "There is an extraordinary peace that comes when we, at some early or late moment in our lives, realize that we don't have to be anyone else but ourselves. We suddenly discover that it is sufficient, enough, more than enough, to simply be who we are, with our face, our voice, our body, our thoughts, our feelings, our loves. There is no need for pretense or apology. Our limitations as much define our way of being in the world as our virtues do. There is no need to keep going back over the sum of our lives, searching for what was simply never there. What is there? What happened? What will happen? These are the lessons that have brought us to this day. There is a great thirst, a great longing within us that reveals our true nature. Are you supposed to be more than you are? Are you supposed to be other than you are? I often harangue myself with thoughts like that, but I have to ask myself, really? Truly? What does that mean? Let's try to get it straight. If you are not sufficient in yourself, is it that you think you have made yourself and botched the job? That you, your very being, is a product of your own making, but a substandard one? Or is it that you believe you are owed a better self by whoever or whatever issued you the self that you have? That you think you've been given a bad deal? We have our feelings about all the events and circumstances of this life. That is perfectly natural. We have our feelings about things. But I have to wonder where we think we stand to make these kinds of judgments about the being that we are, the soul that we were at birth and are still. On what basis could we imagine we are entitled to something better? And here's a poem which long ago helped to turn my heart, and I have to confess, I wish it had turned my heart even more. It's Transcendental Etude by Adrian Ridge. No one ever told us we had to study our lives, make of our lives a study, as if learning natural history or music. That we should begin with the simple exercises first and slowly go on trying the hard ones, practicing till strength and accuracy become one with the daring to leap into transcendence. And in fact, we can't live like that. We take on everything at once before we've even begun to read or mark time. We're forced to begin in the midst of the hardest movement, the one already sounding as we are born. We are born into the middle of it all. And every moment we awaken into the middle of it all. And I love how this poem reveals the impossibility of standing apart from this life in order to regard it critically, and therefore reveals the absurdity of trying to do so. We are in the midst of this life, in the midst of this world. We are. Everything we do and every opinion we may form about it is within this life and within this world. Everything is a feature of the thing we're trying to stand apart from and judge. And here's a fitting final word from Daphne Rose Kingman. She says, "How easily we can forget how precious life is. So long as we can remember we've just been here, being alive. Unlike other things for which we have a comparison, black to white, day to night, good to bad, we are so immersed in life that we can only see it in the context of itself. We don't see life as compared to anything, to not being, for example, to never having been born. Life just is. But life is a gift. It's a compliment just to be born, to feel, breathe, think, play, dance for this particular lifetime. Today, let's give thanks for life itself. And having taken in these reflections, I invite you now to dwell for a moment in your own living experience. Maybe close your eyes. Be conscious as you breathe in and out. Be conscious of being there, breathing in and out. Notice whatever thoughts float by. Whatever feelings arise.
Weekly, we always say to donate to the Share the Plate recipient and Marion Polk Food Share. Well, this month, for February, the Share the Plate recipient is the Marion Polk Food Share. Here's what they have accomplished in 2021 due to your donations. 1,200 volunteers contributed 30,000 hours of service in the Food Share's warehouse and office, Meals on Wheels, the Youth Farm, and community gardens. More than 9 million meals were shared. More than 13,000 families received food assistance every month. These families included 19,500 children. Over 760 meals were provided each day for seniors and disabled adults through Meals on Wheels. 727 households grew healthy food in over 50 community gardens. 51 youth farmers participated in a socially distanced farming season on the Food Share 6-acre urban farm on the Chemeketa campus. As Jimmy Carter, 39th President of the United States, said, "We know that a peaceful world cannot long exist with 1/3 rich and 2/3 hungry." Your donations to the Marion Polk Food Share helps put a dent into that 2/3. Your donations to this congregational community through your pledges, volunteer work, and kindness help put a dent in the sense of isolation that can be out there. So please visit the website to donate. If you are here, as you walk into the foyer, there will be baskets where you can put your donations there. Thank you for maintaining the community of UUCS and for helping the wider community of Salem.
Reverend Gallagher will now light the candle of the social justice lantern to symbolize the actions that we may take today and in the days to come to sustain light and life in ourselves and in each other. And now Reverend Gallagher will extinguish the other candles, for they are only symbols of the light we take from here to share with the world.
So let's first give a nice thank you to Priscilla for her lovely flute playing, and to Tom for singing, and Lorianne for playing, and Bob did a great job. And thank you, Reverend Mark, for coming down from Vancouver. You know, you could move to Salem. I'm just saying. It's an option. So something put out there. So you all are here in person, which means that you followed our directions, which we appreciate. Please continue to do so, registering for the services here and showing your vaccination cards if you need to, if you haven't done it yet. And then fellowship will be after the service. Next Sunday, Reverend Rick should be back talking about discovering your spiritual identity and talking about his experience. Julianne Jackson is going to be live here this coming Friday. You'll see Lorianne again, but this time she will be in the back. So you see, she can be in both positions at the same time. Isn't that fabulous? And then for news of the community, if you are not on the email list to get the Friday email blast or the newsletter, please contact the office to get on that so that you know what's going on. If you would like, there are copies of this week are on the table just outside the door as you walk through. And that is it. Thank you.
Life is the greatest gift of all, the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier bars. It seeks to creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
Please stand in body or spirit and join me in saying our closing words. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.